Hey all, it's RADRAD, and I'd like to tell you, happy 2024. 2023 was a good year for gaming, for better or worse, but we're not here to talk about that right now. I'm here to talk to you about my channel and what I've been doing for the past couple of years with it. Sort of go over some of my major projects on the channel, and what I have in mind for this place in 2024. I guess the big one I should start with is the King of Fighters, because that's something I did back in 2021 when the King of Fighters 15 was getting announced, so I figured, well, I need to play through a bunch of King of Fighters games, because it seems like everyone on YouTube's going to do a big franchise-wide retrospective in order of release. And I kind of wanted to take it in a different direction. Obviously play through every mainline game in the franchise, but what if we did some King of Fighters offshoots? Like, obviously, Fatal Fury holds King of Fighters tournaments, so I can throw that in. King of Fighters games aren't just limited to fighting games. I could toss in, like, Sky Stage somewhere in there. And along the way, I started doing things like Capcom versus SNK. Well, this is sort of off the cuff, I apologize. What I wanted to really do with King of Fighters was sort of challenge myself, because a lot of those games I hadn't done proper arcade mode runs of, at least proper runs that I could be relatively proud of. And most of those games I did not extensively practice for, hence why KOF 97 is like an hour-long run, because I lose a lot in it, because I'm using a team I'm not necessarily familiar with. But once we start getting into the later games of the franchise, and then SNK starts understanding what Mercy is, I start getting a little better at it. Ignore KOF 13 being an hour-long Jesus Christ. But with King of Fighters, that was done and dusted. I got through that in 1 year, and I'm relatively happy about that. And other than a few one-off videos I did, Capcom then announces Street Fighter 6. And then I get this idea to do that with Street Fighter. And some of those videos, I'll admit, I'm not particularly proud of when it comes to Street Fighter and Capcom games in general. Like, I get really upset. Oh, I might have missed this. I get really upset in some of those, and if salt's a bit much for you in your videos where the humor just sort of dies out, I apologize for that. But when it came to Street Fighter, I didn't want to just cover mainline games, just like King of Fighters, I didn't want to just cover mainline games. I wanted to cover franchises, not just Street Fighter, hence I tossed in Darkstalkers, I tossed in Rival Schools. I wanted to do not just Street Fighter games, but Capcom fighting games within reason. Keep it close to Street Fighter without going too far over the ledge. Because I did a Marvel vs. Capcom retrospective in a month when I was doing KOF to give me a sort of breathing room. With Street Fighter, I took my time with that. It's like, it became weekly, and then I kind of pushed my way to the finish line. I'm trying not to do that with fighting games, because with fighting games, you need a lot more time with them. You obviously need training, you need to understand the character you're going to play as, you know. Try to keep your offense diversified, try not to get too stale with your approach, try to make a relatively entertaining video. And I think with Street Fighter, for the most part, I've done that. I'm happy with how that particular list came out. So when the time came to play Street Fighter 6, I just sort of, well, I could do arcade mode runs. I can't just do online matches, because you thought I got mad playing the CPU. Oh no, at times there is some not safe for work language in there when I do online matches. Because sometimes the, adrenaline does get the better of me. I think we've all been there. So I focused on arcade mode runs of each of the characters, and eventually I just kind of got bored with that and stopped doing it. if you want me to go back to that, let me know, but yeah, I feel like there's no real necessary need for me to do arcade mode runs. What was necessary is that as soon as I finish my Street Fighter retrospective in time for Street Fighter 6, NetherRealm comes in, announces Mortal Kombat 1, and yet I get another idea. I get an idea to play through the Mortal Kombat games, and most of that playlist I'm proud of. There are a few videos I would prefer to redo, preferably the ones where I just rage quit because I was consumed by salt. Once again, I apologize for that. If there's one thing I value in my videos, it's that making sure I complete those runs to the fullest. So anything there that's like rage quit or gameplay based that doesn't get the job done, it's considered a failure on my part. But I did it to myself. I was absolutely pressed for time, playing through the Mortal Kombat franchise in 3 months. And I also did it to myself by deciding to include portable releases, which, in retrospect, I was not wrong for doing so. Because most of those videos, most of the portable versions, Game Boy, Game Gear, did better than arcade runs and did better than most console versions, which I kind of understand that, because when you've seen one run of Mortal Kombat games in the arcade or on the Super Nintendo or on the Sony PlayStation, you've seen them all. On the other hand, not a lot of people are doing runs for Game Boy games, Game Gear games. Back to my King of Fighters videos, I know when I did a run of Real Bout Garo Densetsu for the Game Boy, that did better than most because it was one that people hadn't really seen. So it's definitely something that I am going to consider moving forward if I do franchise retrospectives. Like, don't just limit yourself to the arcade versions, the console versions. If there's a portable version out there people might not know about, absolutely toss that in. So yeah, that was Mortal Kombat, and I got that and done in time for Mortal Kombat 1, which I was happy about. So I'm on a bit of a roll doing franchise stuff for the sake of either to celebrate an upcoming game's release or, well, I've got a week or two worth of time. You know, there's a franchise out there that means just as much to me as Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, and it's Pokemon. Pokemon, in September 1998, was celebrating its 25th anniversary for the release of Red and Blue in the United States, and they're gonna do a Pokemon Blue run. I admit, it's not really the cleanest of experiences, where I might have gotten a few facts wrong here or there, but overall, I'm proud of what I've done with Pokemon Blue. It was like... So, one of the things I had in mind for 2024 is Pokemon related. I say this because I just completed Pokemon Blue a month ago, and yeah, I don't want to just turn this into a Pokemon channel. It's not my field of expertise, it's just a franchise I grew up with. That being said, there is a hack out there that is set to be released this month, fingers crossed, called Kanto Expansion Pak. What they're doing with this, what the crew, Plague Von Karma and her crew of friends are doing, is expanding upon Gen 1. So if a Gen 1 Pokemon got, say, an evolution over time, if they got a regional variant, they tossed that into this project right away. But that wasn't enough. There are some Pokemon out there that are unused, still within data of like Pokemon betas. Let's throw that in there too. So it seems like a really ambitious project. I'm sort of in their Discord saying nothing except cheering them on because I'm deeply anticipating this hack. I kind of want to do a playthrough of it, but it would just be a Pokemon... Oh, fuck. It would just be a Pokemon Blue playthrough again. but it'd be something new in the mix. I'm going to put a link to Kanto Expansion Pak in the description, of course, towards the Discord, towards the spreadsheets they have there, which goes over the new Pokemon and what the balancing idea is, because they're balancing around Gen 1. No Gimmick of the Week stuff, Mega Evolutions, Terastallizing, Gigantamax, nothing like that. It's genuinely ambitious stuff. I kind of want to try it out, kind of wanted to do a full playthrough of it. But, yeah. So, there... I'm sorry, I'm losing track of myself. I think I'm sort of done with long-term fighting projects. Like, obviously I did the big ones. KOF, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and... there aren't a lot of other franchises out there with, like, long-spanning releases with multiple console ports, like with Mortal Kombat, for example. So I think I'm done with long-term projects other than Kanto Expansion Pak, which I am heavily considering. So if I don't do a playthrough of it, I kind of wanted to pass that down to you to ensure that that project gets as much traction as possible, because the work being done on it, insane. Even for, like, a Game Boy Color era Pokemon hack, which not nearly as big as, say, Game Boy Advance stuff, which makes it even more impressive. But Pokemon aside, there is another playthrough I do want to discuss, and that is of Doom 1993, which, if you're doing your math, Doom turned 30 last year. And obviously, I have been playing Doom since I was a kid. Obviously, there's been, like, breaks in between. I'm saying obviously a lot. There have been breaks in between where I haven't played Doom as much, but it's a franchise I hold dear to me, and I wanted to do something special with it. So, I was inspired by Martinaz's Doom videos, where I played through an entire campaign, but every level is a different mod. So I started thinking to myself, how can I make that different? How can we add a little RAD-based twist in the mix? And then I combined my idea of playing various ports and doing a general playthrough of a game. So I unfortunately have to pull back the curtain. So for every level I do in Doom 1993, in the next level I play a different port of the game. So I tried to play that as straight as possible, play it as, like, aloof, dumbfounded. Oh, this thing was different. I don't remember this. It's exactly as I remember it. I admit I could have done that a lot better, like, be less clumsy about it, but I didn't want to just say, okay, here's E1M3 on the 32X, on the Super Nintendo, on the PlayStation version. I kind of wanted to play ignorant. It's not necessarily conveyed that well, and I see people in the comments be like, oh, you're doing a playthrough of PlayStation Doom, or Game Boy Doom, or Super Nintendo Doom. It's technically all of them. And eventually I do toss in a little bit of source porting, and obviously the Bethesda Doom port, which has gotten a lot better since its initial release. They're throwing in community WADs. Like, obviously you could play Sigil and Sigil 2 through that method, or you could give John Romero $6. It's up to you. But with Doom, I'm essentially proud of what I've done, because, yeah, most of the pistol start stuff was legit. I had never done full pistol start of Doom, and I need to go back and do E1M3 for that, because that technically was not a pistol start. I had to do the Super Nintendo versions at the start of each episode, because that version doesn't have a level select code. So, for Shores of Hell, for Inferno, I did E2M1 and E3M1 off the Super Nintendo version. to A, keep the illusion, and B, keep consistency. Of course, that does mean I didn't do most of them keyboard-based, but, you know, people lie sometimes, and it's fine to do so. But yeah, with Doom, I'm very proud of that. Like, I could have conveyed the idea a lot better. Will I do the same thing for Doom 2? And the answer is no. I would have to drop the 16-bit things. I would have to drop the 16-bit versions entirely, because Doom 2 didn't get a 32X release or a Super Nintendo release. So I could sort of throw the gimmick in there, like, well, okay. For Doom 2, if I do that, I'm playing through the secret levels, and I was debating playing through the secret levels on Wolfenstein 3D as sort of a joke, because obviously Gross and Wolfenstein are based off Wolfenstein, so let's take that to the extreme and just boot up Wolfenstein 3D and just do those levels. But gosh, it's been so long since I played Wolfenstein 3D. Is there even a level select for that? Because if there is, I would totally be on board with running that. So yeah, Doom 2 was heavy consideration. Kanto Expansion Pak was heavy consideration. I'm just waiting for more appropriate anniversaries to roll around. I don't want to tie myself to one franchise. Granted, I tied myself to the fighting genre for about 2.5 years, but it sort of branched out. Speaking of which, I take part in various podcasts for a group known as the Infinite Ammo Syndicate, which did inspire a couple of video uploads, admittedly, because I do send video footage to be edited into those podcasts so that you have something to look at as well as something to listen to. And it did inspire a couple of my decisions, mainly in 2020 when I did my run-through of all the games on Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, which are included on the playlist for the sake of preservation, and that was crunch. That was me playing through a Street Fighter game a day, which, I would never do that today. I would give myself sufficient breathing room to train for those games, because I'm using characters that I don't use as my mains. Elena in, like, New Generation? No, never. Hugo in Second Impact? No, never. Who would use Hugo in Street Fighter 3? So, I kind of lost track of myself there. When even my tangent found a roadblock. Let me get back on track. Shoot, what was I even talking about? So anyway, yeah, podcast stuff. I sometimes put together videos for the sake of video footage, and most of that is there in recent videos, like Bare Knuckle 3 is there, Virtua Fighter 5, that's another reason. And coming up is a podcast based around anime fighters, so you might see me put up a couple videos based on anime fighters with my personal experience. I think Budokai 1 is in mind, as long as I can get a clean run. Because I think there is a world tournament mode, and I would really like to get a clean run of that. Because, most people will play through the story of Budokai 1, and it is a good retelling of Dragon Ball Z. Don't get me wrong. But that's like 4 to 5 hours at a world tournament run. Should be no less than half an hour. So that is something I might consider, like, dedicate a chunk of time to playing through a bunch of fighting games based around anime. It's like, yeah, I would challenge myself in that respect, because I did play Anime Fighters. I was a big anime nerd back in the day. So it might help me to re-energize and do that kind of thing. But that's another thing I'm considering using this channel for, so I'm always thinking, I'm not necessarily abandoning this channel, but, well, updates aren't going to be as frequent. Like, my resolution is to get a video once a week to make sure that I'm keeping up with this place, in which, if you're subscribed here, thank you. I hope not to let you guys down or sort of forget you guys exist. I have other responsibilities in my life that unfortunately prevent me from uploading as frequently as I would want to. But, you know, thanks for being considerate. Thanks for giving me the time. Thanks for wanting to keep up to date, because needless to say, you've got a lot of choices for your YouTube subscriptions, and I am honored to be one of those options. So with that, I'm sort of going to close this video by once again wishing all of you a happy new year, and just saying that, yeah, there's ideas coming down the pike. I don't know what they are, and obviously I have an X account that I put videos in, as well as various other things that are on my mind. So if there are any updates that come by, you know, I'll put my X account in there. We'll just sort of I'm trying not to, like, here, subscribe to my Twitter for more information. But it's just sort of there if you want to keep up with what I've been playing, what I've been doing. There might be an update on my YouTube channel in there. It's like, that's the only other social media you'll really see me on. So yeah, if anything big comes out, check my Twitter X account, Twixter I call it, because Twixter sounds cool. Check my Twixter account for anything, because if I put together some sort of general idea of what I want to do with the channel, that's usually where I'll post it. But in any case, once again, Happy New Year. I'm gonna stop this video now and just say, stay tuned and enjoy your 2024. This is RADRAD saying, see you later.